2022 has been quite the year for cinema, and for better or worse, it served up a ton of movie moments that you won't soon, or perhaps ever, forget. And with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 15 most WTF movie moments of 2022. Number 15, Al is assassinated by evil Madonna. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Weird, the Al Yankovic story took aim at corny Hollywood biopics by basically just making everything about its own story up. Now, among the film's many half-truths, or rather flat-out lies, is a subplot in which Al is kidnapped by Pablo Escobar, forcing him to shoot his way out, killing Escobar in the process, before freeing the also kidnapped Madonna. The film ends with Al performing Amish Paradise at a 1985 awards show, before he's suddenly assassinated by one of Madonna's henchmen after she decided to take over Escobar's drug empire. And to be fair, what better way to completely break the tether to reality than straight up killing Al off, no matter the fact that he remains very much alive almost 4 decades later. Number 14, Jean Jacket's feeding time. Nope. Though there are several unforgettably disturbing sequences in Jordan Peele's Nope, surely the most unsettling of the lot sees the alien creature, dubbed Jean Jacket, hoovering up a bunch of customers at Dupe's Western theme park. Beyond the mesmerizing imagery of seeing the poor saps getting sucked into Jean Jacket's stomach, Peele then cuts inside to show them being helplessly pushed up the alien's digestive tract, where they're crushed into a bloody pulp and their gory remains reign over the surrounding area. If much of Jean Jacket's physiology remains purposefully vague, Peele gave us a stomach-churningly intimate, deeply claustrophobic look at the alien's brutal feeding process. Number 13, Milo's insane dance, Morbius. Morbius is certainly filled with what in the morb and hell were they thinking moments, especially in regards to Morbius's sickly childhood friend Milo, who is turned into a homicidal vampire. All the same, Milo is actually happier and healthier than ever in this form, visualized through a wonderfully unhinged sequence in which Milo dances shirtlessly in his apartment to an annoyingly catchy tune. Matt Smith's goofy dance moves ensure that this is the single genuinely fun scene in the entire movie, even if it does just kind of feel like Smith himself improvised it on the spot while the cameras happen to be rolling. It isn't good, but it is entertaining, and in a movie as god-awful as Morbius, that's practically miraculous. Number 12, the piggyback escape, RRR. If you haven't seen the Indian action epic RRR yet, which I'm just going to refer to as Triple R from now on because my accent makes me sound like a pirate or something, then do yourself a favor and head over to Netflix and watch it, like, right now. In a film packed to the gills with uproariously ridiculous WTF moments, it's never better or more weird than during its totally deranged climax, where tribal revolutionary Bahim rescues Officer Ram from imprisonment. Due to his prolonged captivity and daily torture, the officer is unable to walk. And so Bahim does what any bro surely would do in this situation and throws him onto his shoulders for a piggyback escape. As such, the character runs through the prison camp while Ram knocks out the guards, takes their guns, and opens fire. It's a beautifully choreographed display of mayhem as the pair balletically fly through the air in the most hilariously improbable fashion. Number 11, Dante dies, Clerks 3. Clerks 3 might well be the big surprise bummer movie of the year. Though many expected Kevin Smith's threequel, based on his own experience of surviving a near-fatal heart attack, to be a life-affirming romp, it's actually a surprisingly depressing and bleak piece of work. For starters, Dante's partner Becky is revealed to have died in a car accident at the start of the film, in turn robbing Dante of both his partner and their unborn child. 15 years later, Dante is continuing to stew in his misery, and even though he and Randall agreed to make a film based on their lives following Randall's own almost fatal heart attack, Dante drops dead of his own heart attack near the end of the film following an argument with his friend. Though it seems for a second like Dante might pull through, ultimately he passes away in hospital with Randall by his side, while Smith envisions him being reunited with Becky as he dies. It was a genuinely shocking outcome for a series that built itself on dick and fart jokes, and while Smith's own life experiences have clearly had a profound impact on his own worldview, this is perhaps one franchise that didn't need to get quite so real right at the finish line. Number 10, Wanda wrecks the Illuminati, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. For the standards of the MCU, Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange sequel certainly went to some off-the-wall places, pushing the envelope in regard to the franchise's reliably family-friendly PG-13 rating. This is best embodied by the genuinely horrifying Illuminati sequence, where on Earth 838 we meet the superhero secret society comprised of Mordo, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, Captain Marvel, Reed Richards, and Professor X. Before long, Wanda crashes the party, making short work of the Ultron drones patrolling the facility, and then slaughtering every single member of the Illuminati save for Mordo. Black Bolt has his mouth removed and head brutally caved in, Richards is turned into spaghetti, Carter gets sliced in two by her own shield, Captain Marvel is crushed by a statue, and Professor X gets his neck broken. Raimi took a fan-serving sequence and totally flipped it on its head, showing the audience the thing that they wanted to see and then ripping it apart before their very eyes. As such, the scene is harrowing enough that some observers even credited it with causing the film's box office to take a slight hit. Number 9, Ugly Sonic, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers was a surprisingly fun meta-laugh of a movie, packed to the gills with inexplicable cameo appearances from beloved characters across a swath of entertainment media. But by far the most shocking cameo was from Ugly Sonic, that is, the much-loathed original rendering of Sonic the Hedgehog that appeared in the first trailer for the 2020 film. After immense fan backlash, Paramount decided to delay the film and redesign Sonic to be less of a humanoid and better resemble the more cartoonish iteration that we all know and love, and it was a huge success. And that seemed to be the end of the matter, until Ugly Sonic showed up in this film, voiced by comedian Tim Robinson no less. Even more surprisingly, he actually has a pretty important role in the story, ultimately using his FBI connections to help arrest the Valley Gang at the very end. Number 8, Scoresby loses an arm and his life, Avatar: The Way of the Water. Before we dive in proper though, I just want to say that apologies, we couldn't get specific footage of the specific scene in question in this case because Avatar is obviously a really recent movie and still in cinemas, so apologies for that. Avatar: The Way of the Water offers up one moment of insane violence in its third act, when the humans hunting the whale-like Tulkuns on Pandora get their brutal just desserts. In particular, we're made to loathe the head of the hunting operation, Captain Mick Scoresby, who suffers a most outrageously over-the-top death scene. In it, a steel cable ends up snagged on his boat, eventually tearing through the whole boat and pinning Scoresby to it, and then proceeding to tear the character's arm off with enough force to catapult his lifeless remains into the ocean. It's nuts, and trust James Cameron of all people to slip something so hilariously violent past the censors. Number 7, The Talking Fetus, Blonde. Andrew Dominique's Marilyn Monroe biopic Blonde must surely be the most polarizing film of the entire year, some lauding it for its bold, unconventional presentation and others dismissing it as arty-farty nonsense. By far the most controversial sequence in the film involves Marilyn's unborn CGI fetus speaking to her from within the womb, judging her for having a previous abortion and asking if she'll be doing the same thing this time around. As you can probably imagine, this scene proved to be incredibly controversial. Some felt that the scene was tinged, perhaps inadvertently, with pro-life anti-abortion sentiment, while others felt it trivialized abortion, and others still simply saw it as a strange, goofy filmmaking choice and controversy for the sake of controversy. Wherever you land on it though, it is without a doubt one of the oddest, most WTF scenes of the entire year. Number 6, The Yacht Gets Food Poisoning, Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness is one hell of a wild ride, and never more hilariously unhinged than when the luxury super yacht full of wealthy well-to-dos suffers a savage bout of food poisoning after food is left out of the fridge for hours after the guests order the staff to swim with them. During dinner, the guests quickly begin succumbing to the tainted meals, resulting in explosive vomit shooting from mouths and hurried trips to the toilet, ultimately causing a literal river of crap to pour down the ship's hallways. And all of this is happening while the boat's drunk captain has a fiery debate about capitalism over the ship's PA system. Though things certainly do get more dangerous from here on out, the shower of food poisoning-induced vomit and crap left audiences laughing while also trying not to lose their own lunch. Number 5, The Butt Plug Landing, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Picking just one WTF moment from Everything Everywhere All at Once is no easy feat, but it has to be the butt plug gag, right? The film's big, insane, yet inspired conceit is that in order to verse jump into another version of themselves, people have to do something profoundly weird and unexpected, which they typically would never do otherwise. It's also set up earlier in the film that one of Jamie Lee Curtis's IRS Inspector's awards is very clearly just a butt plug. This pays off later when Evelyn is attacked by two henchmen, both of whom attempt to insert said plug into their own butt cracks in an attempt to verse jump into a more adept martial artist version of themselves. The gag culminates in one of the two performing a hilariously over-the-top leap straight onto the butt plug, complete with slow motion and a mosaic effect censoring the man's nudity. And for the rest of the fight, said butt plug remains peeking out of his ass because, of course it does, the gag wouldn't be complete without that, would it? Number 4, Margaret rips a baby out of Peter's stomach. Resurrection. Resurrection is one of the most underappreciated horror films of the year, in which Margaret crosses paths with an abusive ex-partner, David, who years prior claimed that he had eaten their young son, Ben, and that he's still alive inside David's stomach. The rest of the movie sees David psychologically abusing Margaret while claiming that Ben remains inside his stomach, before reaching the ultra-violent climax, which maybe reveals the truth. See, after David once again claims that their son is alive inside his stomach, Margaret then cuts David's stomach open, rips out his intestines, and indeed finds a fetus inside. The film ends without confirming one way or another whether what we've just witnessed is real or a delusion on Margaret's part, but at the end of a mostly restrained, suspenseful thriller, it's a completely unforgettable, totally effed up way to close things out. Number 3, Ali's insane death, Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 is the movie that's so damn violent that it's actually been making people faint and throw up in cinemas, and that's most likely down to the film's most horrific death scene afforded to poor Ali. Ali isn't given a quick death at the hands of Art the Clown, but rather has her eye sliced open, scalp ripped off, back flayed, and arms broken and torn apart. And tragically, it doesn't end there either, as Art then leaves the room and returns with bleach and salt, which he pours on her wounds before ripping half of her face off. Between the prolonged nature of the scene and downright gnarly gore effects, director Damien Leone is going to struggle to top this level of unhinged violence in the inevitable Terrifier 3. Number 2, The Mother, Barbarian. Barbarian is unquestionably one of the most talked about movies of the year, largely due to the surprise that happens to be lingering in the basement of protagonist Tess's Airbnb house. At the end of the first act, Tess is introduced to this situation the hard way when Keith, the man who double-booked the same Airbnb, gets his head smashed into a bloody pulp by a homicidal naked woman in a secret tunnel in the basement of the house. Now, it's later revealed that this woman is the product of incest at the hands of the villainous Frank, a man who spent decades abducting women, sexually assaulting them, birthing their children, killing the women, and doing the same thing to their children. Generational violence eventually led to the creation of this woman, who kidnaps people and wishes to nurse them as her own children, resulting in the WTF scene where douchebag AJ is forcibly breastfed by her. Number 1, the birthing cycle, men. We've talked about a lot of strange stuff on this list so far, but nothing this year tops the stunningly nauseating climax of Alex Garland's horror film Men, a sequence that's so insane and unexpected that it likely ruined the whole movie for many viewers. The film itself revolves around Harper, who heads to a remote village to grieve the loss of her husband, only to end up harassed by various men who all resemble the same person. One of these assailants is a naked man who appears at the film's end in the form of the mythic Green Man, complete with a swollen belly. He then gives birth in very graphic fashion to the young boy who bothered Harper earlier in the film, before the boy's own stomach swells and he gives birth to the vicar that Harper met earlier as well, and the vicar then gives birth to Harper's landlord Jeffrey. And finally, after the end of this lengthy cycle, Jeffrey births someone else entirely, that being Harper's own dead husband. And all of this is as gross as you'd expect, though you probably didn't expect it at all, not at the end of this movie. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any other WTF moments that I missed off here that you think should have been included? And did you see any of these coming? And maybe more importantly, did you even like any of these scenes? I don't blame you if you didn't. Let me know, and while you're in the comments, if you could, please also give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this on the regular. Even if you don't know, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.